You know, a box score can tell you what happened in a game, but it rarely tells you the why. Tonight, we're diving into a single game that felt less like a sporting event and more like a movie script, complete with a hero, a villain, and a pretty unforgettable ending. And look, every great story has that one character you just can't take your eyes off of, right? And on this night, our guy, he wasn't playing the hero. No, he was leaning into a totally different role. He was embracing the villain. All right, so picture this. It's late January in Phoenix. The Suns are at home, they're hosting a powerhouse opponent, and you can just feel it in the air, that buzz of anticipation. The crowd just knows they're in for something special. And yeah, this was no ordinary regular season game. This was a legit heavyweight bout. You've got the Pistons, who are just steamrolling the East, coming into the Suns' house, a really tough team fighting for their own playoff spot. The stakes, they were high. But you know what's crazy? The stage was set before a single point was scored. It was Dillon the Villain t-shirt night. The team wasn't running from his reputation. They were putting it on a shirt for 5,000 fans. They were basically daring him to live up to that name. And oh boy, did he ever. So the game starts and bam, from the opening tip, the Suns are just on fire. It was an absolute offensive explosion. And guess who was lighting the fuse? The man of the hour himself. I mean, look at this. By halftime, the scoreboard tells you everything you need to know. The Suns put up 72 points, 72, on one of the best defensive teams in the league. They'd built this massive 16-point lead. It was just relentless. And who was the engine driving that whole machine? Dillon Brooks, 24 points, all by himself in just the first half. That's a third of the team's entire offense. And it's how he did it that was so incredible. This wasn't just chucking up shots. This was peak efficiency. 8 for 11 from the field. He was hitting everything. These tough turnaround jumpers, contested threes. He was just on a completely different planet. The villain was putting on a clinic. Okay, but this is where the plot thickens. Because great teams, they don't just roll over and die. The Pistons came storming out of that locker room with one goal in mind, to ruin the party. And suddenly, the third quarter felt like a totally different game. Detroit just started methodically chipping away at that lead. They outscored the Suns, slowed the pace down. You could feel the momentum shifting. That once comfortable lead started to feel, not so comfortable anymore. And all that chipping away, it led to this. Midway through the third, that huge 16-point lead gone. Poof! It was down to just 3 points. The entire game, the whole story of the night, was suddenly hanging by a thread. So you have to wonder, right? After that unbelievable first half, was it all just gonna fall apart? Was the villain's big night gonna end in a total heartbreaking collapse? The answer? A resounding no. When his team needed him the absolute most, when the pressure was cranked all the way up, the villain, he became the hero. He didn't just stop the bleeding, he grabbed the game by the horns all over again. And while he's taking over, he starts climbing a different mountain, towards a career high. His personal best was 37. With Detroit making their big push, he didn't just match it, he blew past it, hitting 38 points before the third quarter was even over. He was in totally new territory, with a whole quarter left to play. And he sealed the deal, 40 points, a brand new career high, on his own t-shirt night, against one of the best teams in the league, right when his team was about to collapse. I mean, come on, you couldn't write a better script if you tried. Just look at that final stat line. It's a thing of beauty. 40 points on great shooting, 8 boards, but the only number that really mattered, 1. One decisive victory. He literally put the team on his back and carried them across the finish line. Because by the time that final buzzer went off, that big comeback felt like ancient history. The Suns had pulled away again, winning by 18. A dominant final score that was secured by the sheer will of one guy. And what's so cool about this is that this game wasn't some random fluke. It was the absolute peak of a career year for him. This was the season he found another gear, averaging over 20 points a game and really becoming a top-tier scorer. This night, this was his coronation. So all of this leaves us with one last question to chew on. He went into the night as kind of this dark horse candidate for the All-Star game. But after a performance like that, a 40-point career night on a national stage, on your own theme night, You gotta ask, is he still a dark horse, or did the villain just punch his ticket?